When you think of innovation in education, you might think of charter schools or private schools. But something innovative is happening in a small agricultural town in California's Central Valley. Poplar, California is home to the Pleasant View School District, which consists of 2 public schools. Many of the students who attend Pleasant View come from families who work as farm laborers, and many don't speak English as their first language. Some would not consider these students to be set up for success because of their socioeconomic standing. However, over the last 4 to 5 years, students at Pleasant View have consistently exceeded the expectations set for them at every grade level. So, why exactly are students at Pleasant View succeeding?
I've been around education enough to see the frustrations people have and know that the one thing that's constant with teachers and people that are in education is they care about children and they want to build relationships with kids.
This is Mark, the superintendent. He's the one guiding these shifts in practices and in culture in this small public school district.
I just think we need to give our teachers a better practice for themselves. Like, I really think we've shortchanged our teachers in the sense that we haven't given them something where they feel successful at it, because there's always this stuff coming down the pipeline, whether it's from the federal government or the state government telling us that you're not good enough, right? Based on one day in time, one proficiency metric, which the funny thing is from year to year, you're not even testing the same group of kids because there's so much movement between in our kids in our schools, and your one grade level leaves and another comes in. So that's why we focus on growth.
In most settings, you would see what I would describe as a self-contained classroom with a teacher lecturing the students, which is quite different than this setting.
Well, we have what you call is an open classroom setting where teachers team teach and have the opportunity to work with a full grade span of students. We can group by academic level, and we can move and rotate and do like little subgroups and intervention groups and pull-aways. And there's so much going on in a day. One student can move 4 or 5 times to get their needs met. All of these things that are moving in this machine are allowing us to be better facilitators of learning and for them to be stronger at learning and be more independent.
Bueno, yo creo que ha sido un proceso bien interesante, porque realmente sale de los esquemas de lo tradicional, del modelo tradicional. Entonces esto nos ha permitido como ver cambios y ver cosas buenas.
Cosas que en el modelo tradicional no son tan, no se permiten tanto. Pero en este caso sí hemos visto con los maestros o profesores de Sofía y Samuel que son muy cercanos al desarrollo de ellos y que les ayudan no solo en lo académico, sino en otras áreas también que son importantes para la vida.
I used to get into trouble a lot and be a troublemaker. They gave me the opportunity to think about my actions of what I was about to do, and they actually started me caring about school and my grades. I started trying to do better in classes. I think it was because I respected the teachers a lot. Like I had a good relationship with the teachers. I respect them a lot. I wanted to show them that since they were helping me out, that I'll give it back to them, that I was doing the same thing they were doing.
Pues solo por estar checando en mí, como preguntándome cosas de no solo como la escuela, pero como de mi vida como personal.
Based on conversation I've had with teachers elsewhere, you know, a lot of times those teachers are competing with the teacher right next door. And there's no question that in this setting where there's more adults, there's a broader community where everybody's working towards that common goal, that we have seen more kids be impacted through relationships first with at least one person, and then the academics will come. We see the evidence, we see the good things happening with the kids.
The question of how you define success is something that every entity and organization has to grapple with. Many schools are handed that definition by the government, or at least handed the expectation. The thing that makes Pleasant View so different comes down to how they define success. While many districts define their student success by comparing metrics to objective standards, Pleasant View is more focused on individual growth and on building relationships with students, and on a psychological concept called self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy is this belief we have in ourselves. And in the zip code that I grew up in, it was probably really enforced at home, or that belief system was built in my house, in my community. Because I believe this, I believe all my parents are doing the best job that they know how to do. And we can be such an asset to them in helping them build that self-efficacy in their kids. Because 20 years from now, that's what's gonna make a difference when life gets tough and you come up against obstacles. Do you have the belief system that you can move through those things and around them, over them, whatever it takes? I see all the time, and I've seen the studies where they talk about kids who aren't reading by the end of third grade in low socioeconomic areas are like 13 times more likely not to graduate from high school. However, did anybody ever stop to ask a third grader whether they thought they were smart or whether they believed in themselves?
Pues ya estoy más confidente en que yo sí puedo hacer las cosas. Decía lo que pensaba, pero no sabía si está correcto, si no está. Pues sí, ya estoy más segura en mí misma y ya sé que está bien, que si no estoy correcta. Yo creo el fracaso nos ayuda a saber qué tenemos que trabajar en y cómo podemos ser mejores.
You need failure to learn. Without failure, you're not gonna get far. You need to learn from your mistakes.
Before Pleasant View, failure was just, okay, you took a test, and if you didn't pass it, you move on. It's whatever, you don't need to learn it again because none of the teachers care. But at Pleasant View, failure was just another reason for us to try again. That's all it was. Failure was another excuse for us to go back at it again and keep studying. And that's what helped me out a lot, was that failure was not there to stop me. Failure was just a little setback that will get me to the point where I can see what I want.
We are supported, right? It's the same thing that we kind of pass along with kids, is we want to support any personal growth. It doesn't have to be academic, it could be social, emotional, it could be personal. But again, celebrating those things and knowing hey, it's okay if you didn't get it today, tomorrow, maybe we can make some progress, and kind of embracing that failure versus, hey, you need to be at this level, at this grade, at this age, or whatever it is, right? So we talk about that continuum of learning, right?
So the continuum of learning is from the beginning to 12th grade. So you get a student and the goal is to progress them, to move them forward. I don't think about teaching first grade, I'm teaching students. For us, that's how we view things. We just view it on let me help you let me push you along. Let me scoot you along. And maybe one student, he only scooted a little bit, but we scooted. And then there's another student who scooted all the way 2 or 3 grade levels. Okay, great. No one's getting held back, no one's being neglected, everybody's getting their needs met.
I believe that's better than saying, okay, they have 80% mastery of something. What does that mean? But if I know that they've grown 30 points in language usage, and then I start looking at the details on that, that's much more meaningful for me, and also helping to prepare intervention materials for kids with special needs. I think we will see students far exceed what they would have done if they just expected to just maintain mastery. So self-esteem is critical. It's a love of learning and a love of how to seek out information.
Acá vimos, sí, que Sofía y Samuel muchas veces fracasaron. El saber que me puedo equivocar y que hice esto mal, pero tengo la oportunidad de salir adelante, de cambiar las cosas, de evaluar lo que hice, pero puedo salir adelante y decir, sí puedo hacerlo y puedo lograrlo.
Cuando empecé, pues ya eso me ayudó a saber que yo sí puedo hacer las cosas cuando esté en como high school, que si algo mal o no lo puedo hacer o está muy difícil, yo ya sé que sí lo puedo hacer si sigo tratando.
For the first time ever, my 4th grader actually got to 2 A's, I believe, a B and a C, when every single time he does, I kind of get emotional, sorry. Every time I saw his report card, it was I told my other kids, don't expect him to do the same way you do, because he struggles and he has a hard time. So seeing that now he gets the support he needs, I was he's actually succeeding in school. School shouldn't be it should be an opening door where you could go and challenge and grow, and he didn't have that, and now he does. So it's nice to see, to actually be oh my gosh, my son is growing.
This passion to pursue what we really are interested in comes from when we start to feel success doing something, right? We start to build this confidence and this efficacy. And I think that's critical for our generation going forward. I think our kids are starting to learn that perseverance is critical, and that it's okay to take risks and it's okay to fail along the way.
Is this sort of shift in ideology possible in public school settings in America? And if so, what exactly would it take?
Well, this is a public school. It is working. But, I think we're tied to traditions and we're tied to the, traditional ways.
Well, number one, you have to have the culture. You have to nurture those core beliefs, make sure you have a buy-in, and then you have to, as an administration, you have to release the control and allow teachers to be teachers. And once you do that, then it will take on its own formation. It may look like this here, but if they started at another school, it may look different.
I think it's righting a ship that's been off course. I think we've been headed down this road for a long time, and now you have kids that in their hands, they have a world of information, good and bad. I get that me going somewhere and trying to start a charter school would be probably a simpler process, and I wouldn't have to have dealt with some of the stuff I've had to deal with, but I also know that if we can do it here, it can be done anywhere. And by here, I don't necessarily mean an open classroom. I mean a focus on building relationships and belief systems in kids can be done anywhere. Tomorrow, every school district around the country can walk in and make it a priority to build a relationship today with a kid and focus on that. It's time for change.